a third arm of this, and
Yep.
it's the front office. Obviously, 8 years of drafting and trading and signing players who had injury issues is a huge contributing factor. And a lot of the players that got hurt in practice were guys who've gotten hurt before. So John has to wear this too, as well as Jed for signing off on that whole freaking game plan dating back to 2013 with Trent Baalke. But it seems like maybe these two are sort of asserting themselves now and taking control bit by bit from Kyle Shanahan. Do you see it that way? And if so, how?
I do. I think that this causation is probably the largest root cause to this problem. That's my personal belief on it, that the style of players that we drafted and the Moneyball approach to taking injured players dating back to the Baalke years is the largest single contributor. And I feel good about the idea that finally this offseason we seem to have acknowledged that and focused on drafting and bringing in free agents that are healthy and have a track record of being healthy. Other than the one safety out of USC, I believe that most of the rookies all have pretty good injury histories. Trey Sermon, a little bit there, but it's a running back. Of course, he's going to get some nicks and cuts along the way. It just is, to me, it's almost as if they had a system for counting cards, right? And so you tell yourself, well, when I go to Vegas, I'm going to implement my system, and I may get a run of bad cards, but I'm not going to stop my system. The system works. I'm just it's been a run of bad luck. And it felt like they stuck with this idea of value for players that have an injury history and just telling themselves, well, everyone does it in the league, right? We're just doing it more because we need to, because we've been a high performing team throughout the Harbaugh era. We had to find a way to stay competitive, and failed to acknowledge the idea that maybe the system we were using to count cards was off. Because it has truly devastated us. And the problem, if that is the root cause, as I suspect, the problem is 1 year's draft class and free agency is not going to solve that issue. You still have the vast majority of the team that's made up of those players. That's
where it's a systemic issue. I mean, you can change the practice schedule now. You can fire the training staff now. This is 8 years of a culture, of a system that you've built up, and you're going to have to purge it over time.
Yeah. And I assume that Dustin Perry was liked within the building, seeing as how he was promoted from assistant to the position.
He gets results in the weight room, man. These guys are yoked, but
he bulks them up. There's no doubt. And it has worked well for some of the players, but perhaps there's just a rigidity there to his style that isn't taking into account those that need to be more pliable.
Can we point out that George Kittle, the poster boy of Dustin Perry's training program, broke his foot running last year and missed 8 games? We don't talk about that very much because we like George Kittle. Broke his foot running last year. What the hell was that?
Yeah.
Is that not exactly what we're talking about right here? Is
totally.
His body not breaking down?
Those are textbook overuse, right? Is stress fractures that occur from simply overusing a limb or, putting too much torque on that level.
The dude is 250 or whatever plus running a 4.5. Man, I'm 180 and I go out to the track at Piedmont High and try to run. I'm like, man, gravity's really pushing on me these days, man. It's not the same when I was 165 in high school, 250 running that fast. I can only imagine, man.
Yeah, just wait 10 more years, Grant. Gravity gets more powerful as you age, believe me.
Screw you, stop running. Yeah, I'm sorry. Okay. So are they asserting themselves? I mean, what are some of the data points that make you think they are? First of all, the draft pick of Trey Lance didn't feel like a Kyle draft pick, especially when he came out the Monday before and he debuted the I'm pissed and leaning thing, while John Lynch is over there we're gonna get the guy we want. So that was the beginning, and then canceling minicamp. Is
canceling
this a Kyle
minicamp,
move, or is this a Jed move? Hey, forget about this. This is ridiculous.
And maybe even the Julio trade or lack thereof. If it were up to Kyle, would he have expended a couple more draft picks to bring in Julio, his guy? Kyle loves his guy.
He would trade 20, 30 draft picks. Who cares?
Another first rounder. 20. Don't we have a 2024? Just throw that in.
Hey, man, that's Jed's tab, man. Run it up.
I'll be gone by then.
Yeah.
No, it's to me, it does look as if. Now, I am bit opposed to your view. I don't know if you're still of the view that Kyle wasn't in on Trey at all, but I do buy that maybe he wasn't as in on Trey as he sells. And
my guess would be that if he was ranking them, it was Mac, Jones, and then Trey. Like Trey, he liked Trey, but I think he probably had Mac one step ahead, whereas probably the rest of the organization was flipped.
I could buy that. Yes. I could buy that. Yeah. I still think it's the other way, but I could buy that being a possibility. Know for sure. We'll never know for sure. We'll never know. Said everyone says that
you're right. So
yeah, well, right.
We'll have to put him on a lie detector.
The reality is that he came around to it. Whatever brought him over to the Trey Lance side, he came around to it.
He did.
And whatever he may say in front of the media, for sure. For sure, the fans directed by the Cohn Zone came to the rescue on that one.
We had to do it.
And so then you see the other moves that you have potentially Jed coming in. And I don't buy that Jed walks in and says, Kyle, this is what we're doing. But I do believe that there may have been a meeting with Kyle, Mike McDaniel, John, and Jed that was sort of
again? Practice? Again? 2 in 1 day? Come on, man.
Let's rethink this. Let's do something. And what I applaud is that regardless of whether you believe that these two individuals are stepping up within their roles, which I believe would be a positive impact on Kyle. I think that one of Kyle's weaknesses is believing he can do everything.
Yeah.
And that's not his strength. His strength is play design and play calling. So maybe focus more of your energy there and allow other people in the building to come in and represent you in those areas and raise you up. Because that's what a good head coach does. He relies on the people around him in order to make his job easier, in order to be his multipliers, in order to be the people that give him back time to reinvest in the things that are valuable for him.
Yeah.
So I think it's a good thing either way. And if I'm incorrect about this and they're not asserting themselves, the other reality is that Kyle is maturing in those areas. So for me, it's a win-win. Either those people are stepping up around him or he's maturing. Either way, I'm on board.
That's fair. I guess the thing that bothers me about sending everyone home instead of just being like, look, no more competing in practice. We learned our lesson, but I don't want to send you home. Just because David Culley or whatever that guy's name in Houston said Texans home doesn't mean we got to do that too. The guy in Houston was like, we accomplished everything we want to accomplish. Oh, word? Did you do that, Niners? When you got the violations and then you got the week canceled and then you got the 3 guys hurt, did you just accomplish it? Why don't you have a new defensive coordinator? Okay. He's never been a DC before. He says he wants to tweak up the scheme a little bit. Give him an extra 2 weeks in the meeting room with his players. It could only help.
Yeah.
It could only help.
Not to mention that it's insulting to the fans to have that order of operations where clearly it's about the injuries, but then you come out and you're like, well, we did everything that we wanted to. We're just ahead of schedule, so we're going to cancel because of that. Like, give me a break, Kyle.
So I just feel like, I mean, it's only June and we don't know how this is going to work out, but it's going to be so easy if things go haywire to come back to this 2-week stretch and be like, well, that was just a wasted 2 weeks. Straight up waste. I mean, bowling, that's the best you could do, man. Get in the, I don't know, if I were a 22-year-old kid, I would, and Kyle Shanahan was like, we got a meeting. I'm going to show you everything you need to know about the Lions starting center. And then I'm going to do the Lions right guard. And then I'm like, I definitely want to freaking see it. Kyle Shanahan, I definitely got to see this. Instead, he's like, nah, man, just go home and do whatever the hell you want to do. And I'll see you guys when you can do 1-on-1s and 7-on-7s again. Like, that's all you're interested in is competition, man. Teach me. I want to know. I want to know. And the thing about Bill Walsh is he was a legendary teacher, man. You want to be the next Bill? All of his meetings and all of his installations are filmed in a vault because they were legendary. That should be you, Kyle. That should be
legendary.
You, Kyle. Legendary. And you can get the vault. That's what you have that.
He was such a teacher. Such a teacher that vault, if I understand it correctly, was created at his direction in order to provide it to his coaches when they were hired to be head coaches for other teams so that he could put together a collection of film on how he does things. And when Holmgren goes over and gets hired by another organization, he gifts him with that stuff to take with him to prepare him for that. I mean, the ultimate team player, the ultimate coach, the ultimate teacher, and a lot could be learned there. But again, for me, it's just frustrating because Kyle is good about being pretty forthright with the media about some things. And in this area, it just feels like he's spinning it and lying to me. And so that feels disingenuous. And as a fan, I don't appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, just looking at Kyle's attitude, and you talk about the practice injuries, his whole attitude is, I'm not going to change. This is football. It is what it is. He even said he's not going to adjust his training camp schedule at all. So Jed and John need to assert themselves. They need to assert themselves.
They do. That instance, I think Kyle will say that regardless of whether he plans to change practices or not. That goes back to the curse for me, that he can't acknowledge it, can't speak it into existence.
Okay.
He needs to make the changes behind the scenes. So again, I feel like we'll see that going forward. Unfortunately, this is something we're not going to know how much they've addressed it for years.
Until we see, yeah.